you've ever driven down Brea Boulevard and Imperial, right at the corner there during election time or voting time, you'll probably see people there with signs trying to promote their political background or their political agenda. This brings me to one of the issues that we had there in Brea that had the most people that I've ever seen by far. They like swamped three corners. It was, the topic was Prop 8. And what that is it's same-sex marriage. That one had the most, I don't know why, but young people promoting any political agenda at all. So I'm going to talk about that one and how over the last 2 weeks I've come to find, hopefully, a median between the 2 points. First, I will go over both main arguments of each side, pro and negative for same-sex marriage. And then I'm going to show my idea and hopefully a median between the two that has worked in another country. To start off with, many people feel same-sex marriage is taking away the freedom of choice from the churches so they can choose who they want to marry. And I can see that that's a very valid point. Churches should not be forced to marry anybody that they feel goes against their background. So with that in mind, I think that's a clear indication of what we can and cannot do in church versus state, because we already have church versus state laws. We can't just now go in and tell them what they should or should not do. What little power they have left in today's society, there is some part in the world that still needs churches, and to take away probably one of the main things they still have in the world would be devastating to them. If they could no longer choose, if we had to stop them from if we had to make them marry people that they didn't believe should get married, then who's to say they wouldn't just decide not to marry anybody? And this might be an extreme, but it's just like a little idea for thought that they can use whatever we try and force them kind of against us, and so that might be an extreme, but it could still possibly happen. Next, I'm going to go into a main argument for the pro side, and that would be if two people love each other, it shouldn't matter if they're gay or not to have their own marriage or to be able to get the same rights as married people. And that's one of the main arguments, is that they're not getting the same rights as man and woman marriage. And that's very easy to overcome, I think. I think if the government would give them their own rights, that they'd be a lot more happier. And I think in the end, who are we to tell them they can't be right, they can't be happy? That because they are of different sexual orientation, that they can't have the same happiness that other couples have through a name title of marriage or spouse, or yeah, we are together. And that title brings a lot of extra opportunities with it. It brings 401ks, it brings all these extra things that people probably didn't think about. And for us to exclude them because of their sexual orientation is just wrong morally. We should be open to everybody being happy. That brings me to where I'm going to bring in a country I felt did a very good job in becoming a median between the two sides. And they didn't give same-sex marriage, they didn't make it married, they made it something called a civil partnership in England. And I sorted from Wiki, England was one of the last nations to come upon same-sex marriage, but they call it civil partnership, and there is no difference in marriage or civil partnership, any economically wise. It's all the same. it's respected as the same way, and they go to justify it by saying that they don't have the right to take the word marriage away from the church, so they just give same-sex couples a different word for the same basic idea. And the fact is that if we could do this, I feel we would be able to please a lot of people, because it shows we would be working towards a point, working towards trying to make it better than what it is now, where everything that's being brought up has just been shot down. I think to be able to say, here, we're doing something for you, and we are trying to make this work, would do a lot more than what we're doing right now. I think to be able to do that would please a lot of people and not anger. It might anger a few, but I think those few might be really extremists who feel that gays should be burned. I think in the end, nationally, most people are okay with it at this point. It's just it hasn't been done yet. So I think a civil partnership would be the best outcome for all sides, because marriage is still between a man and a woman, and they get to keep that power to marry people, and civil partnerships would have all the same economic backings of a regular marriage. So, in conclusion, I feel this would be the greatest way to stop the arguing that has found its way into our country and to appease the greatest amount of people. Thank you.
That was bad timing. All right.
Okay. You're supposed to do the written on me. Really?
So, Kristen, what did you think?
I thought the attention getter, like in the intro, was really good. It kind of like hooked me in. I was like, oh, what's coming next, you know? And I liked how he showed the pros and cons, and then tried to think of a way to like make it so both sides are happy. I thought he could have used a little more sources, but overall he did a really good job. It seems like he had a lot of knowledge on the topic, and it was just a good speech.
All right. I like the introduction also. I thought that you demonstrate that there's controversy on that, but I think it's a little bit vague as to where you're going. You do set up a structure that's pretty easy to follow, and so I didn't have any problems there. But the point that you're trying to make, I think you need to show why it's been resisted as a compromise, because it's both directions that the argument goes. The people who are opposed to gay marriage for religious reasons, you talk a little bit about what their objections might be, but you don't really discuss why gay couples object to the idea of civil partnerships or unions as an alternative to marriage, and whether or not they would find that to be an acceptable compromise and what the problems are. Now, you do kind of suggest that it's extremist on both sides, but there's no data on that shows that that's the case, and that's one of the problems with the speech, is that there's not really a lot of factual data about what the laws are, what the burdens would be. You need a little bit more information about the English example so that we could see it's satisfactory and that it's working acceptably. And then I think you need to get a little bit more into some of those emotional appeals. That, the closest you come to an emotional appeal is on the one side you're taking pity on the churches because damn, they don't have anything left, we ought to leave them this. And then on the gay side you're saying, well, everybody should be able to love whoever they want to love. And none of those, I think, are going to draw people very strongly to your point of view. So I like the idea that you have. I think it's a good concept. The execution is not as strong as it could be, and that's a little bit of a problem. I don't even know why you have a script or notes at all. You barely look at those notes. You seem to know what it is that you wanted to say, so I think you could have gotten that out of your hand anyway. All right.